Town of Walpole notice of intent and land disturbance permit, Conservation Commission public hearing in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, Town of Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and the Town of Walpole Stormwater Management and Erosion Control Bylaw. Notice to hereby given the intent of McNamara Holdings LLC. File a notice of intent and land disturbance permit for the demolition of an existing garage home and accessory buildings, construction of a new building for wholesale/industrial use, with parking, associated drainage, and utilities located at 1446-1454 Main Street. Plans are on file with the Conservation Commission office. Public hearing on the above matter will be held in Walpole Town Hall, 135 School Street, November 13th, 2019, beginning at 7 p.m. All interested persons request to be present. We have some things for the record here. Health Department, in regards to the above referenced plan, Board of Health will not be meeting prior to the Conservation Commission meeting on November 13th. Therefore, the Health Department would like to relay the Board of Health's opposition to new construction within the wetlands and add their concerns regarding mosquito-borne illnesses, including Triple E and West Nile, which are more prevalent in wetland areas. Okay. What's this mean?
Means they, I think it means they owe this. I did check it. She agrees that that's,
This is what's owed?
yep.
Mhm. You think it's,
The email they got back, they were gonna take care of it that following day, so it should be good.
okay, we need to verify that?
These are the same plans that you submitted? Or are these different plans? Okay.
We verify that this has been cleared up?
We will before we issue a permit.
Okay. Who's it? Board of Appeals, proposed project not before the zoning board of appeals, therefore has no comments at this time on the property reference. From the planning board, the receipt of your request for comments, the above referenced application, however, there are no planning comments at this time. Thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Except for the middle. Yeah, the middle is for the applicant, but if you guys want to just spread out on either side, that's fine. You can hear it.
This is from the town engineer.
Right, so just, Chairman, the comments pertaining to conservation are these comments and these comments, and then he goes into the planning board comments, so.
So plan review,
And the applicant did get a copy of it.
they do have it, okay. On all plans, the wetland flag A18 is missing and should be reestablished and located as close to the southerly rear building corner. Sheet 1 of 1 existing conditions plan. Plan shall be stamped by a Mass Registered Land Surveyor. The plan should also be revised to reflect the current ownership. There's presently no longer the Heavey family. On sheet 3, grading and drainage, infiltration design utilizes a separator row as part of the treatment train to remove suspended solids from the proposed parking lot water. This approach will be difficult to maintain. We recommend parking lot stormwater be routed through an appropriately sized water quality unit before entering the infiltration chamber. Inspection ports should be shown on the infiltration chambers and added to the detail sheet. The roof drain collection system needs to be shown as well as the discharge point for the roof drains. Commission may wish to consider infiltrating additional roof water. Clarify whether there will be foundation drains. If so, show them on the plan. Provide a finished floor elevation for the proposed building. On sheet C5, planting plan. The plan does not delineate where each of the species identified in the plant list are located on the plan. Proposed tree to the south of Unit 6 will be on the water services. Its location should be 10 feet off the services. On sheet C7, we request the Coltech R330-XLHD detail to be modified to show the non-woven geotextile over the entire top of stone and sides, but not on the bottom. Eliminate the separator row detail as it will not be approved for earlier comment. The inspection port detail needs to be modified to include a cast iron cover, as all ports will be located in a pavement area. Provide a detail for the standard manhole frame and cover. On the stormwater management report, the report is generally well prepared, however, the following items are noted. Deep soil observation tests were performed on 5/17/19, but not witnessed by the town. The test should be performed on each end of the proposed infiltration system and witnessed by DPW engineering. Stormwater management summary under standard number 7 lists the project as not being a redevelopment, however, it is. Stormwater management summary under standard 2 provides pre- and post-flows for the 210, 25, and 100-year storms as required. Commission could ask for the volume calculations. It would appear that volume is reduced to Main Street and slightly increased to the rear of the site. Commission could ask for volume attenuation in exchange for other waivers. The delineation of the post-development areas on the post-development plan could be better. Some of the detail on this plan makes it less clear. The report will need to be revised to reflect the elimination of the separator rows and inclusion of the hydrodynamic separators appropriately sized. The other comments on the engineer's letter are for the planning board. I think that's it for conservation. Okay, representing the applicant,
My name is Charlie Shepherd from CDW Consultants in Natick. I represent the owner/applicant who is here tonight, Frank McNamara. Obviously, the engineering comments I just received this afternoon, so I'm gonna be talking with some, I guess, but most of those will have to be resolved after this meeting. I'm gonna give you a brief summary of the project.
you want to move that up here so we can see it?
How's that?
If you folks want to, Richard, you can move up also. The guy on the end doesn't bite.
So the project is again 1446 to 1454 Main Street. Everyone's aware of the site, existing site, mostly paved out front. There's the existing garage, one-story garage. There's a small office building. There's an existing house. There's an existing garage and some little other accessory buildings. It's currently 2 lots. I guess once we get final approval, we'll have to recombine it into one lot. Here's the survey plan. The approximate, this is just the frontal lot. It's all pond here up to the back. It's about 164,000 square feet. Good sized lot, around, I believe it's around 2.9 acres. So we're gonna demo these buildings, all the buildings, all this pavement will come out. This is the layout plan, showing a new building, 65 by 260. In the front here, we've got parking in the front. These are gonna be individual 8 units, with overhead doors for each unit. So we have diagonal parking here. We decided to diagonal to get a wider aisle here, so that small trucks, if they get trails and stuff, they can be able to come in like this and then back in to their units. required parking is 19 spaces, and we've got 32, so we're well above the required. The required lot coverage in that zone is 70%, and we are about 27%. Again, we're well under that. Handicap spaces over here. We've checked the access for fire trucks to get in and around. No problem with that. Next sheet is the grading drainage. The blue is all the drainage structures. Catch basin, to a manhole, to a manhole, and we've got catch basin, this is for manhole. This is the Cultec underground drainage system. The striped area in the front is that isolator roll used to clean and get the silt out, but it sounds like the board as well as engineering doesn't want isolator roll. So if that's true, then we would probably put a water quality, we'll have to use two, to slip the flow, so we'd probably put a water quality structure here. Here. To take care of that. Again, we'll have to show foundation, the foundation plan, we'll have to show that plan. After this meeting's continued, you see the stormwater report, we meet up pre and post. Again, if they don't want the isolator roll, we would have to go to water quality. It's like a storm scepter 450I, something equivalent size. The red line up here, I probably should say before, this is the 25-foot no alteration zone. The longer dash is the 100-foot buffer. So you can see the building is inside, some of it's inside the buffer. You can see that we show a gravel path out back because the fire department has requested some kind of access around the back. So maybe not necessarily for a big truck, but they did want some access, so we showed a gravel drive. Because of that, this is the area of disturbance, the main area of disturbance in the no alteration zone, is to grade that back and put a retaining wall. So that is, I believe that's about 1,200 square feet of disturbance. Going on to the utility plan. We all new utilities. The blue is 2 new water lines, one for domestic, one for fire protection. We've got gas and electric over here. And then the orange is new sewer. The last plan. Here's a planting plan, where we show some new trees in the front, and then some smaller shrubs, and then this would be loam and seed, this would be loam and seed, and this would be loam and seed. And we requested a waiver from work in the no alteration zone. Our argument would be that the current buildings have some within the no disturbance area. I believe the existing is around 4,700 square feet. We would add this area, and then we proposed that one thing we could do is to offset this area, is that there's grass out here, we could probably mow it now. We would propose to leave it uncut, let it go wild. That would be our
Okay. Landis?
In what area were you proposing to?
There's lawn out behind here, it doesn't really delineate well. There is.
Okay, yeah,
There
because
is a
where you were
lot.
pointing where the wetlands are, so.
Yeah. there is a lot of area up here, so.
Yeah, I guess you'd have to go.
Opposed to taking, you know, an equivalent amount, and leave it wild.
So I sent you my notes as well. So the area to the rear is a small pond with a stream that's a solid blue line coming in, and then it goes in, as it goes out, it goes into a pipe that goes under Bristol Square, and then it pops out again as a river as well.
Yeah, I think it's maybe, what, two lots over?
Right, but so it comes in as a river and it goes out a river, and the definition of a pond is 10,000 square feet.
Yeah,
Now,
this is well over 10,000. I ran the area today.
okay,
I did a
'cause,
quick one on Mass GIS, and actually I put on the image, the ortho image,
mhm,
and just a quick area, I believe I got around 45,000.
I did the same, but maybe I calculated it wrong. So I think
You're
it,
watching, you don't have to jingle change.
yeah, maybe
It's on
that's
your
it.
route.
Just so, maybe just a little more information about that is the size and how it meets the characteristics of a pond, so that there would be no riverfront areas. So the only overview you give is the first page, I think, of your big set. You kind of, do you have the first page where you can see where this comes in and out? Or I guess it's in your notice too.
here.
It's in the notice too, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, the
So
wetland
there's-
scientists put a riverfront flag over here at the outlet.
Yeah,
The outlet is a pipe.
right.
Pipe goes under the parking next door.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
And it's greater than 200 feet. But
So
it's
n-
not riverfront until you meet the other end.
Right, yeah, no, I'm aware with that, and if it
I
goes through
think
the pond.
I assume she put that flag, and
Mhm.
she just looked at the USGS, which shows the stream going right through those two properties.
So as far as her delineation, there's no riverfront area within your
Correct.
property line?
Correct.
Because it's a straight line from where it comes in, and it's a straight line from where it goes out, so.
Correct.
All right, if you could just provide us with a little more information, the size of the pond and, but then, so we do have the no alteration area where you're proposing to work, and so I guess you need to give us a little more information of the area that you want to, sort of swap, if the commission allows. And then just as far as, so you have hay bales and straw wattle in your plans. We use a
Yeah.
compost sock. The straw wattles just don't hold
Yeah,
up.
that's
And the hay
the
bales we don't use anymore.
Yep.
And I agree with the town engineer, just, we like to have the separate, the pre-treatment be separate than the infiltration not be included in
Yeah,
it.
we would change that. We'll, there'll be a row here, it just won't be an isolated row anymore.
And then we do need someone to observe the soil tests, so you're gonna have to
Yes.
go back out
So
there.
it sounds like they want one at each end.
Yeah, yeah, so
Yeah,
make sure the
we-
soils are good.
Yeah, so we'll have to get them back out there too.
And
Yeah,
then-
it's all sand.
Your call tech, if we could just get the manufactured specifications, they send you on
Yep.
the type that you're using, so we have that in our file. And just installation notes on how it's going to be put in, and the soils are gonna be maintained so they're not compacted, and how the area is going to be maintained so it's not driven over or compromised during the rest of the construction.
Yeah, we do that.
And so I'm sure the commissioners have questions about the no alteration area and how that's gonna work, if there's possibility to redesign, so you're not in it at all, I don't know. But that's what I have now.
Okay, Doug?
Along those same lines, I was looking, you're in the no alter zone where Unit 8 is shown on the right.
Yes,
And your justification is there's a existing building already there.
yes, yeah. I mean, the house, part of the house and part of the garage actually are more, a greater area than we proposed for that. corner.
Okay? But then you're also, the gravel access road is in the no alter zone on the left.
Yes.
And,
We 45 that corner a little bit to try to lessen the impact on that side.
It almost seems to me like if there was just 7 units here instead of 8, it would all fit better, but that's just the way I look at it. That's my only question.
Okay, Emilio?
Yeah, but the idea is to maximize the space as best as possible.
I understand you want to maximize, but again, to echo what Doug's argument is that you're proposing to trade the 1,200 square feet in an area that should be, it's in the wetland anyway, so that's not, doesn't seem to be a fair kind of
Well, it's
trade.
not all in the wetland, but, I mean, some may be in the wetland, some is. I
So
believe,
that's
outside.
not a fair trade, in my mind, and I agree that 7 units would fit better. You're proposing to do work right up to the wetlands line on the right, is that correct? Can you can you flip over to the
Yeah, the
building?
proposed.
Yeah, on that one there. So you're going right up to the wetlands line on the right there, is that?
We're probably, the final grading is probably, 5 to 10 feet off.
Right, and that's in the vicinity of the flag 18, which was missing in the field. So it looks like your surveys just drew a line straight across, but where was that A18?
Yeah, I mean, I never saw it, so, you know, anyone know it was gone,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Well, I'm
Well,
not,
maybe that needs to be
not-
re-verified.
I
I'm
know
not,
that was already a problem.
I'm not in favor of the work. It's 25 foot. I don't think that's, I think you're overdoing it there, so that's my opinion. I think 7 would fit better than 8, and I'm not in favor of the work inside the 25. That's all I have.
Okay, Roger?
Would you go back to sheet 4? Now, on the left-hand side, you have the 25-foot dotted line, right?
The 25?
25-foot
Yes.
area. And you mentioned something about you want a roadway back there for the fire apparatus.
Yeah, it's not a full road, it's
Well,
probably, I believe it's 10 feet.
You're still putting heavy trucks back there. And
Well,
you-
they won't get a truck there. It's 10 feet, I don't know if they'll, they had said to me when we had like a round table meeting, that they just wanted some access back there. And whether it's a guy with a hose, they didn't say they had to get full trucks around there. That's what I was told at the time.
Well, I'm going to take the position that if they can put a truck back there, they probably will want to. On the right-hand side, you're going into the 25-foot area, and once you get a truck around to the back, you want to get it all the way around, because the trucks are getting bigger, heavier, longer, and wider. And I do not agree with the building in the 25-foot area, and I don't agree that it's only to take a hose back there, because they need to get a truck back there. They're going to probably go all the way around it in order to get it back out. I think that that unit on the right-hand side is not a good one, where it's in the 25-foot buffer area. And you're talking about running, fire apparatus back there. I don't perceive that they're going to, if they have to pull a ladder truck back there to get up, and they have now the big new truck, I think it's a bad thing. Also, they do carry foam. We don't know what's going to be stored in that. This is what, a storage facility?
I can explain.
Contractor bays, landscaping guys, just somebody who has outgrown their driveway. Storage, landscape type guys, perhaps, that type of usage.
So there's no guarantee there won't be any hazardous materials in there. and that's another problem. And you're close to the wetland and riverfront area. And a pond back there that's a man-made pond. I think that's a pretty dangerous situation of having something like that where you could possibly have hazardous materials being stored back there as well. And I don't know how you can police it to prevent people from doing it. And I think that's something that needs to be looked at very carefully. So, those are my comments. The two corners, the potential of a fire apparatus, the potential you don't know what's gonna be stored there. And I would hate to have hazardous materials running out there into the wetland.
Anything else, Roger?
Not for,
Okay.
I'll be back.
Okay, Betsy?
Yeah, I'm noticing a couple of things on your little table for zoning bylaw requirements. You've exceeded the number of parking spaces by quite a bit. You've got 8 units. If you had the number of parking spaces suggested, it would be 19, 2 per unit. You've got 32, which seems excessive considering what I'm going to suggest next. And you're setting back 56 feet, they're requiring only 50 feet. If you were to be more moderate with those 2 parameters, the parking spaces, 2 per unit seems fine, and pulling back from the wetlands in the direction of the road, which apparently you're allowed to do, then the thing might fit. Because, I mean, we're the Conservation Commission, we're not the zoning bylaw people, and so
Right.
we're not looking for 32 parking spaces. 19 is okay. And pulling out of the wetlands is fine, and we're also not necessarily looking for how to maximize. You've got 8 units, could be 7. Considering that this is a pond connected to a perennial stream, which we call a river, it just seems like you're in an area that you don't need to be in. You could pull the whole thing away and be more moderate with the parking. Why 32 spaces for 9 units or 8 units?
It's just the way,
Yeah.
it's just the way the ground was. I mean, the building is the building, and what was left, we assumed, would be looked as favourable if it was parking.
Well, maybe favorable to the zoning people, I don't know, but for us, we're kinda have a different agenda. So anyway, I mean, you have to come back to us anyway, with measurements for the pond and all, and other stuff. I'd like to see those 2 things considered, that by being more moderate with those 2 parameters, you might make it work.
Al? Okay, first thing is, on these plans, there's no locus that shows you where the heck this is.
I apologize, this is a
And-
cover sheet. I-
And the question about river or pond will have to be determined. But I'm looking at what Roger's talking about, the gravel access on the back. Okay, now, I know that gravel access on the back means you take out the topsoil and you put in something that is not going to be mushy in the wet season. And that pretty much destroys the value as a buffer zone or a wetland. I understand the need for that, and I agree with Roger, because I've dealt with this problem before, and it has to go around, because if somebody gets in there, and you say that you've talked to the fire department here, but in most cases, when a fire gets going, there's more than one fire department on site. And the visiting fire department isn't going to say, oh, are we allowed to drive back there
if he thinks he needs to go back there, he's gonna have his trucks, people go back there, because their goal is to bring the fire under control. So I don't agree with having that long thing with a dead end. And I know that there's ways of doing it so that a pickup truck or a forestry truck, which is smaller, can get in there and not sink into the mud. There are devices and ways of doing that and still not pave it. Okay, so that's one thing. I guess I look at the comments that have been made so far about maximizing. Well, I look at that with a different word. I call it greed. And I would just as soon see a smaller footprint here that doesn't infringe on the buffer zone at all. Those are things that come into my mind. Now, there isn't anything on the sheet that tells us whether this is going to be apartments or trucks or a warehouse, or it doesn't tell us what
It
it,
just says warehouse because, again,
where.
It says limited manufacturing.
his clientele could be the right, you know, he can't put an auto body shop, because then you'd have to go for a special permit. The building inspector's not gonna allow something like that, some special.
But we have to assume that somebody could put something in one of those buildings that's not a regular household material, and we have to be aware of the consequences of that. Not every landscaper, let's use them as an example, pays any attention to what the chemicals they're using. We can, in our order of conditions, say, well, we only want fertilizer a couple of times a year, and it has to be some kind of other protection against pollution. But the fact is that we don't have any way of checking to make sure that this landscaper isn't spreading chemicals on a lawn and storing them in his building. If this is what you're proposing, there could be a landscaper. So therefore, there's all the various poisons and chemicals that go with landscapers today. So there's those issues. Now, you have said, use the term Caltech chambers, okay, the particular ones you've designed to have a load on them. They're going to collapse when a big truck comes in there, because, you know, it seems that landscaping trucks getting bigger and bigger every year. What used to be a guy with a pickup truck and a little open trailer is now a big trailer that's boxed in because he was losing equipment, being stolen or damaged. And they're getting away from the little pickup truck, and now they have a bigger truck, okay? So is the Caltech unit that you're designing for designed for a load on it?
Designed for load, yeah.
So there's that issue, and of course, the plan as you've presented doesn't have water quality devices before the water gets into these recharge units. And that's a number one key. You can't recharge dirty water. That's not allowed.
Well, actually, the way the Caltex work is it comes into the first units, the isolator row first.
But you can't
That's right.
clean it out. You have to dig it
Well,
up to clean it
No,
out.
no, what they do is, there's a manhole on each side, you have access, they vac it out through these manholes, vac it
If
out.
a bunch of oil goes in there, you can't vac it out. You have to dig it up.
I'm just saying, that they are used, that's why they call it an isolator row.
So,
It takes
so we,
80% total suspended salt.
we want to see water quality unit at each end to prevent anything that's not desirable for getting in there. Because if you are not aware, we get our drinking water from the ground in this town, and we can't afford to have the groundwater contaminated. So therefore, water quality units and good ones are an essential part of any plan here. On each end, I see paved area, and I'm not sure we need all that paved area on each end. So we could cut down, and it was mentioned in the town engineer's report, it's a redevelopment. I believe it is a redevelopment. You're changing it from one use to another and redeveloping the lot to a more modern use, okay? So one of the key things for redevelopment is you've got to show an improvement to the environment, and I don't see that that's taking place here. You're going closer to the wetland in two areas, and I'd like to see some changes to this plan before we see you again. That's my,
Okay. Anybody in the audience have any questions or comments? Please identify yourself for the record.
I'm here basically just because I'm in a butter.
And you are?
Victoria Narotsky. I live on Audubon Drive. So my property backs up into this. So I basically came because I want to know what I'm going to be staring at if this passes. So one of my questions is, how tall is this going to be?
It's,
How many
they're, I mean, it's a one-story.
Probably about 20 to 25 feet
yeah,
to the ridge.
25 feet, one story.
Similar size to what's there now in terms of height.
No second story or anything.
Okay. And I drove by the property today, and it doesn't seem like it's that much. It doesn't seem like it's that wide. So I see all these plans. I'm kind of an amateur at this. I don't really know what I'm looking at. But how much are you going to be going into? How much further back are you going to be going? Are you going to be staying within the barriers? Pretty much within the barriers like it is now.
I think we're actually coming forward. I think the back of the new building is further towards the street than the back of the current building, I think.
But some of the tree line at the rear, you're proposing to take down?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're
With
gonna cut
the
down
part
some
that's in
trees.
the 25-foot no halting
Yes.
sign.
I wanted to just add something to your comment.
Excuse me.
Natalia McDonough, 65 Audubon Drive.
Yeah.
So our neighborhood in the last few months has been compromised quite a bit between the train, they take down trees, now this is gonna take down trees. And it's not fair that we don't have a say. We have a very nice neighborhood, it's quiet. And I'm concerned at night, is there gonna be lights shining through the neighborhood? How is this gonna be lit?
Yeah, we probably have what they call wall pack units, which would be on the building themselves, probably up 15 feet, small wall pack units. And we have to, they're gonna require a photometric plan, so that we have to show that the shine, can't go beyond the wall. That's the goal.
And what about noise?
These things aren't conservation issues really, noise and things like that, so,
The goal here is really to improve the property. It's an eyesore at the moment. The goal here is to improve it. I mean, if it becomes too much of an issue, I'll just leave it like it is and figure something else out. But the goal is to try and make something that is now, as everyone will admit, an eyesore. It's ugly looking. It is what it is. But the goal is to actually improve the area. I'm not trying to make it worse for anybody. I'm trying to improve the area in question.
Alana Zamet, I'm 51 Audubon. I'm directly behind the pond. Do you live in Walpole?
Westwood.
Westwood. Okay, So I'm just wondering, when you're saying you're looking to improve the property, do you have a personal reason for wanting to improve the property? Because it seems more like a profit,
No, I would
situation,
be,
not so much.
no, I would be very house proud of anything I own, regardless of where it is. I mean,
I don't think this question is really pertinent to conservation issues, so.
Taking
yeah.
down the trees pertinent to the conservation?
Yeah, and that's why we're
That's-
discussing the work and the no
I
alteration
think the
area,
trees is,
so.
we've
should
lost
be considered.
There's
Just
been.
wait a minute, one at a time. Do you have anything else you'd like to
Yeah,
say?
there have been a lot of trees that have been taken down, right around that pond area recently.
are we proposing taking down trees in the no alteration area?
There may be a little bit, I don't know how many trees, not that many.
Yeah, I mean, anything we're proposing that has to come down is in the no, is not in the no-touch zone as it is.
Talking about trees that have been taken down due to the recent increase in railroad activity that has really no bearing on this hearing.
Bearing on the neighborhood.
I understand that.
We have no control of that,
I know.
But that's a
Neither
separate
do we,
issue,
unfortunately. I know.
separate property issue also. It's not involved with this project. Anybody else have any other comments or questions?
Can I just have
Yeah.
one more comment? So on site, there's a couple of debris piles. I know early on you did a small remediation behind the building. There's a pile to the north side, which I think is what you have on your plan, where it says remove existing debris piles. That's where the pipes are. There's a bunch of
It's mounted up.
old pipes.
Yeah.
So this wasn't a mound, this was actually, looks like pipes or old lamp posts, concrete or.
There's a lot of garbage
Yeah,
back
well,
there.
has it been looked at? I mean, to me, it's concrete or other material, could be questionable, has it been reviewed?
Reviewed from what point of view?
Hazardous waste?
Well, the site has a clean 21E on it, so,
does,
yeah.
that, the pile of pipes
Yeah,
has been.
that was all done just recently in the
No
past.
asbestos or anything like that?
Yeah, the 21E was done just before I purchased the building, and anything that is on the site now was on the site then. I haven't added or taken away
Oh, no, I
from.
was just wondering if they, because it's there, I just want.
Yeah, no, there is,
Taken care of and. if
there's
it
no
has been
hazardous.
Reviewed, and then there's several piles of, look like crushed up pavement, look fresh.
So I have a follow-up question. Do we have to see the 21E results? I mean, it's a recent purchase.
It's up to you to ask. if you
Okay,
want
I'm
to.
asking then. That since you're coming back before us, somewhere is kicking around some 21E results.
Yeah, they're for anybody to see.
Anybody else here, Roger?
No, the building, the big building there was a garage.
Right.
It was a
And-
facility where they, I think World Truck Lease, they had a mechanic facility in there. So the building was being used for stuff that you guys are now saying, well, I wasn't planning on having any auto body type stuff in there, but it was used as that in its past life.
Has the 21E analysis been from underneath the buildings yet?
I have no idea where the, what it included, the site itself was.
There looked like there was I'm pretty sure I saw a monitoring well out there also, towards the north end of the site. I don't see it on your plan. Is it on your plan? Oh, I see it now. It's very small, just
I know there
below.
was one in the parking lot.
Yeah, but just below sump at the far north corner.
I haven't seen the report, I
It
know
says
it was clean.
MW.
I'm not sure how many they did.
Okay, just to follow up what I was saying, I think that if that building is demolished, we need to know if there was waste dumped in the building. It would have been an old school thing to do, to be changing oil like 50 years ago, right, on the floor. So I
Down the
think,
floor drain.
okay, so I just think, I mean, we did it recently for some other buildings that got ripped down, that had industrial use.
Did 21E include, how
That-
far does it go? I would guess if we get the 21E report, see what that says.
Okay.
There also was a lawnmower repair facility in one of the small buildings near the house. And I believe a gas station at one time was in that area. I'm sure of it, if I remember my childhood. So the probability that there is stuff buried out there and in the ground is, in my opinion, is relatively high.
Would the,
And
let's see what the 21E report says.
Yeah.
And then we can take a look, if you can get that to our office, and we can decide what else may need to be looked at. Okay? Anyone else have any questions, comments? Okay.
Can I just make a comment, that, I
Yeah.
have little questions about the looks of the building? We'll go to site plan approval. You'll have to have a full set of drawings, sections, elevations. You get a better look at.
Are you scheduled for the
What he's
planning board,
proposing.
or you, not
I
yet?
waited, I wanted you to see, I want to pin down something before I get too deep.
So they have to go to the planning board, and as the butters, you'll be notified of that hearing as well, and that's where they look at parking and lights and all that stuff.
Okay, our next hearing is December 11th. Can you have what you need to do, prepare to get it into us prior to the 11th, so we'll evaluate?
So can I make the assumption that you want nothing in the 25 foot? You want no alterations?
I think that's
I just
a
wanna-
general, I think that's a general,
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
approach is that unless you can give us, demonstrate that you're more than compensating for that in something that is adequate to cover that. We very seldom have granted an exception to the 25-foot no disturb area.
Yeah.
So you can take it from that, but you need to really give something in compensation for that. So it's up to you to decide how you want to approach it, but I think you get the general feeling that we
Yep.
hold that 25-foot no disturb, it's there for a reason. So, and that's something that's come from a number of years of observations of when we didn't have enough buffer from the wetland line within the first 25 feet. So that's the reason why we have that.
Also, we're looking for improvement, right? There'll be improved drainage, but,
Yeah, on the site, and then it's not just square foot per square foot compensation, but some enhancement to whatever you're doing in order to grant that. And as I said, we have very few situations that we have agreed to alter that 25-foot no disturb. So,
As far as the whole site, I see a vast improvement, that the front of that building is one big curb cut. There's nothing, it's just all open.
yeah, well, that's.
We're gonna separate that
You're
out.
talking about, yeah, you're talking about
I'm just talking about the
aesthetics.
general,
Right.
we are gonna improve this site.
but we're
Yeah,
all about
sure.
water. We're all about drainage and wetlands.
Right, so they will improve the site by putting the stormwater
Yeah,
system
Okay.
stormwater will be,
with the storm scepter,
Yeah.
there's nothing now.
there will be an improvement.
I mean, right now, there's one catch basin on
Yeah.
corner of it,
Yeah.
which gets maybe some dead flat.
Okay,
So I would also encourage you, you can give a call and sit down with Carl, the town engineer, and myself to go over your redesign of the stormwater or the, that would be, encouraged.
so can you, as I said, December 11th, does that give you enough time?
You take all the time you need at this point. I'm not in any rush. I mean, just leave it like it is. So if you need more time, Charlie,
The next meeting after
what's the-
December 11th would be January, what, 9th? Is that it? January 8th? Your choice, what's,
Let me
no,
ask you this, can I make a decision tomorrow? Can I go back to my office? and
we
sit
have
down?
to schedule it as a public hearing.
Okay. Well, then
Oh,
I'm safe.
no.
So you can go to the 11th and then.
Yeah, I think, the thing is, if we're not gonna be able to make it, it would be better for everybody concerned to pick a date that you can make, instead of getting there and then asking them
Let's
to
go with
continue.
January.
Okay, so January 8th, we don't have anything on
we can
yet,
put you on
right?
at 7.
So, make it at 7 o'clock on January 8th. So we'll make that a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Any further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, 600.
So I would also talk to the Rimmer of that, 18 flag, that's where it was supposed to go.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
very much.
I'm gonna take this one, so. Okay, what do we got?
Rubber band there? Package it all up
Just
nice.
send it airmail.
Yeah, we can shoot it over to,
Maybe we shoot 'em.
Say airmail, where you put the flinger across
No.
the table.
Rob. Wow, rough crowd tonight, huh?
Oops, I guess this was supposed to go over there.
Yeah, this came,
These are the big times here.
Boy, the butters left pretty quick.
yo.
Notice of intent Conservation Commission public hearing. What Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act, Town of Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Notice hereby given 10 of George Almacari to construct a 3-car garage over the existing driveway, 23 Old Town Road, Walpole. Plans are filed with the Conservation Commission office. Public hearing will be held in room 112, Walpole Town Hall, 135 School Street, October 9th, 15 p.m. All interested persons request to be present. Hearing's been opened and continued. And we have a letter from Bruce Wilson.
An old
That's
one.
an old one.
We unfortunately, I contacted
is
them and they
October
did not get back, so we do not have a request for continuance, nor revised plans, nor anything.
Okay, so they have paid their fee, right?
Say what?
They paid their fee for the hearing? This is a...
Yeah, this is a continued public hearing all day.
Yeah. Okay, we haven't gotten anything back,
No.
so
Not as far as my
would say continue it till, what do we have for December? Continue it till January? If somebody wants to do it sooner, we're not getting a response from them.
Well, we also could close it and deny it.
Well, it hasn't been that long. When was this? October 9th.
Did they have to request to have another date? I mean, why are we saying it's gonna be January 8th when we have no idea?
You gotta pick a
No,
date.
You can continue it to you can continue it to a day and time, or as Al said, you can close it and deny it based on insufficient information.
Oh, I didn't know
That's
those were the
fine.
only two choices. I thought you could just say, we have to contact them and ask them if they wanted it continued, something.
Well, we have to have a meeting to set a date, so, yeah.
Right, or you
I
could
don't
tell them
think
that you
it's
didn't
been-
continue the hearing and make them out, advertise it again and
Yeah.
go through that process, but.
Hasn't been that long.
Well, let's put it in January and
See what happens, if we can get but I think if we don't get a response,
Right.
one thing is to get not getting a response. And if we get something, at least we hear from them, so.
Right. Or
we
if they
tell
do
them-
nothing and you do nothing for 2 years, and it basically, it just dies on its own.
All right, so someone make a motion to continue this to January 8th.
move to January 8th.
Second.
Last
say
one was at
7:01.
7.
Yeah,
So you don't think we need to give them 15 minutes?
no. No,
15 minutes, come
no.
on.
Okay, 7:05,
Okay.
just in case.
Five.
7:01 sarcastic, 7:05 is okay.
7:15.
I would expect that this Main Street hearing we would have something based
Yeah.
on what they're,
But on the off chance that they don't, we don't wanna ruin half an hour of our lives.
I'll be 15 minutes.
Can't get it back.
bring something interesting to read.
Oh, I usually do.
Okay, so 7:05,
Yeah,
Okay.
someone made that a motion.
so moved.
Second,
This is for, what's the,
Old Town Road.
Old Town Road?
23 Old Town Road.
23 Old Town Road, okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 600. Okay. Okay, we have minutes from October 30th. Someone want to move those?
I'll move.
You got a second?
second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 600. Anything new on Cobb's Pond easement?
No.
We're still waiting to hear back from the state, is that the?
We're waiting for the revised signature pages.
Okay. 1900 Main Street, we delivered, the constable delivered a $300 fine. And we have not heard anything back, right?
No, but the notice was signed, so they did receive it.
So that's been done, fine was delivered. There's nothing new on Boyden Estates.
No, there's nothing new on board in the
And I
state.
don't think we haven't reached the time limit on that yet.
Right, correct.
Okay. So nothing new on that. And there's no other issues on the agenda.
No, just in my report is the geo-catching
Geocache.
discussion. Geocache that Betsy wanted to bring to your attention.
Yeah, I want to bring it to your attention. So has anyone geocached before? Okay, so someone knows someone can
Yeah, I
pronounce it.
know about it.
Okay, all right.
Inadvertently, I did.
Inadvertently, okay. So, it's been the type of hobby that families do, that Girl Scout troops do, Boy Scouts, church groups, school groups, camps, families, for the last 20 years or so. You find a little hidden treasure box, could be a little Tupperware, could be something smaller, usually not a whole lot bigger. Kids usually put some trinkets and toys for other kids to find. Everybody signs their name, and then you go online and you say, I found it. In order to set a new geocache, and we have dozens of them already in Walpole, and there are hundreds of them, thousands of them all over Massachusetts. In order to set one, you have to run it by the geocaching group, and they vet it for lots of things. So you've got a bunch of bullet points here for what they're looking at. It's not the town of Walpole's, vetting of anything. It's the official geocaching approval guidelines that they do. So you can't do it at an archaeological site, you can't go into a cave, you can't do this, that, and the other. You've got a list of how they vet these. You give them the coordinates for your proposed cache, your proposed new cache, and they tell you whether you're allowed to do it. Very, very recently, starting in the spring, there has been a slightly new twist to this that surprised us, and the new twist is that if you're putting the cache on public land, like Walpole Woods, like Adams Farm, like any of those sorts of places, you have to have permission from the correct authority in the town. And that has brought everything to a standstill, because first we tried the Trails Committee and they didn't feel like they could come up with something. And finally I just said, let's bring it to Conservation Commission. Let's figure out a way to say that it's okay, because it's been okay for 20 years. There are geocaches all over town, in Adams Farm and Walpole Woods. And right now, nobody can set a geocache legally in the town. Been that way for about 5 months. And I'm just wondering if we can, I think this could work, if we could let the geocache authorities know that it is okay to put geocaches on public properties in Walpole, within all their parameters here, right? Nothing dangerous and all that, as we've been doing. Just
So-
continue the
so-
practice.
Okay,
His
now,
question is why
in
is this a
Norwood-
conservation issue?
We don't know whose it is, so it's at a standstill while
It's the
everyone.
Board of Selectmen who oversees all the public.
So-
There are 3 prohibited locations, wetlands, underwater, and in watersheds. So it might be somewhat under our jurisdiction to help geocachers understand if they are into the wetlands or not.
And I thought that we had some purview over conservation land.
Yeah, conservation.
But no purview over like Walpole Woods?
No.
See,
Just conservation land from this board.
here's the tricky thing. I think geocaching could be held up over this bureaucracy for years if we had to go to the Walpole Forest Committee and see if we
Oh,
could
you have
get
to go to
them.
the Board of Selectmen.
Board of
So Board of
Selectmen.
Selectmen, so I could go to the Board of
Yeah.
Selectmen, but could I go under the auspices of being on Concom, or do I have to go as just myself, just some random
Okay,
citizen?
I do it in Norwood, and I have allowed it in Norwood on conservation land. I don't have authority to allow it on land that's controlled by the selectmen, but I can allow it on land under the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. Likewise, Landis could authorize it on land owned by the Conservation Commission here. I
Okay.
don't see that makes it very
Is-
difficult.
Well, it is, if it's only 2 stops, Concom and Selectmen, I'm fine. If it's that each individual, like the pond subcommittee and the trails and the,
No, I think it's either,
will one stop at the Selectmen do it?
yeah, they are the overseer of all town property. We do have separate jurisdiction and
Okay, so I'll make,
powers, if you will, on conservation land.
so I'll make an appointment with the Selectmen. And then again, am I going as just Betsy, or am I going as a
I was
commissioner?
gonna try and run it by Jim, but I didn't have a chance to go down there to see what he thought. I mean, it may not be
Well-
a big deal.
I hope it isn't.
Are
Um,
you, would you like a motion from the Conservation Commission that it's okay to use conservation land?
Yeah.
I would make a
a motion to allow caching on conservation land.
Yeah, subject to the restrictions that exist
Right.
from the board or whatever that
Okay.
guideline.
Strange to say, it's possible then to get that little thing moved forward. We need to find out whether Landis needs to say something.
Well, Landis can approve it.
Okay.
I don't know, you have any problem?
Right, so you guys made a motion to approve it on conservation land?
You have any problem with it?
You have a problem?
No, I don't have a problem.
I'd be happy to
Yeah,
talk to
problems, but I
Jim
don't
to
have
see
that.
if it needs to go further to the Board of Selectmen, if the other properties, if he thinks it might be an issue or whatever.
Because I would like to
Then you
include
can-
town forest.
So then you can, Betsy can check with you and see if
Yeah.
she needs to go to the Board of Selectmen. As I think
You
they,
wanna do that?
town forest would still be under the Board of Selectmen. So,
So I'm sorry, Landis, it sounds like I do have to make an appointment with the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah.
Do you want me to feel Jim out
Yes,
first
do.
to see
Yeah.
what
Yes.
the best avenue would be, if
Yes.
he's heard of this, if people are
Yeah.
grumbling about it, or if people are happy about it, or
Yeah.
see if it would maybe be an issue.
Or
I wouldn't think it would be a
or what are you
issue.
talking about? Is
Or what are you
probably-
talking about? Well, he's got kids,
Well,
so he
likely.
might know about it.
Yeah.
He might know about
All
it.
right, we have a motion. Did anybody second it?
I'll second it.
You're proposing it.
Oh,
I proposed it.
Okay.
Okay, we
Yeah,
have
I'll
and
propose it.
seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. 600. Yeah, I think just check if Landis, see what Jim says. I would think it would just have to be, and it shouldn't be, it's been going on for 20 years.
At least.
Yeah.
Ever
You know,
since-
but you don't know, but I think that would be a appropriate thing to do, is, you know,
So
get
is
the
it
okay.
always contained in a something? So it's
Yes.
not like, every now and then, like Gilbert State Forest, or even here at Town Hall, like here materialized on the stairs, a little rock that has a face on it.
no.
And out in the forest, there's always like a little owl
No.
sticking, plastic owl in
No.
wood, or, so it's not that kind of stuff. So
No.
that must be some other kind of
That's
treasure
That's
hunt.
another game.
It's
That's
a-
another game. Fine.
It's a
Kind of like the
Tupperware.
Pokemon thing where you went and you found the Pokemon.
I've seen those, I
everywhere.
don't know what, so it's a Tupperware container, and you can buy, the, duct tape that looks like camouflage. You make it look like leaves,
Oh.
and you put a few trinkets in, you put a little notebook and a little golfing pencil, and you post it online, and people use their global positioner to find it.
We went hiking in Wilson Mountain in Dedham,
Yeah?
and we're going along, all of a sudden I saw this, like, what is this? And it was a Tupperware thing with,
Someone must not have put
Yeah,
it back
with-
correctly.
well, it was kind of, yeah, but I mean, it was like, it had full of all that kind of,
Yeah.
like a notebook and
Yeah.
weird trinkets. I think I put some coins in there or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
just like, it stumbled over it, kind of, you know.
I'll tell you, I think it held our family together through the teenage years, believe it or not.
Wow.
I mean, 2 teenagers, one of which was Sam. But he loved geocaching, so did my daughter. The whole family was doing it.
And I'll say my kids did it too, and boy, it's a great way for the family to get out and
Yeah.
enjoy open spaces.
Yep.
It's
Oh, I never heard
go
of
hiking in the woods and
And it directs you to open spaces. So what we wanted to do is, we were always thinking like, where would we like people to see? Oh, this really great place in the woods that we saw. So a good geocache directs you to a place that you might not otherwise have gone to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, so we've got that, anybody have anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay,
Second.
Aye.